And we're back with the second half of tonight's big UWF event. March the 3rd, 2006 in Norfolk, Virginia at Lake Taylor High School and Grant Sawyer. A lot of people talk about the tradition of the Mid-Atlantic area for wrestling. What a tradition it is to see the NWA World Tag Team Championships defended in the great state of Virginia.
Tell you one thing, the NWA World Tag Team titles were a staple of the Mid-Atlantics in the 80s, produced some of the greatest series of matches in professional wrestling history. And when you talk about great tag teams, a great man once said, it don't get no better, because what you have right here are two of the premier well-oiled machines in tag team wrestling in the year 2006 between America's Most Wanted and the Naturals.
I've gone on record and will do so again to say that AMW, for my money, have been the most decorated and best tag team of the 21st century so far. But the one team, as you're well aware of, Grant Sawyer, that has seemingly had the number of AMW more often than anyone else has been the Naturals.
And of course, for the Naturals, this one is for a belt they feel is rightfully theirs, the NWA World Tag Team titles, and we could have major happenings in a short amount of time right here tonight.
We've got the cameras here to capture it. It is not unheard of. Jeff Jarrett upset Raven for the World Heavyweight Championship in Canada. It is not unheard of for those belts to change hands outside of Orlando.
How many title changes have we had right here, just right down the street in the scope?
Starcades, Great American Bashes, so many historical wrestling matches, historical title matches, and title changes have taken place in this town. Referee Brian Hebner assigned to the contest, and there's the opening bell for this, the World Tag Team Championships defended in the great state of Virginia.
Yeah, the magnitude of this contest is not lost on either team. The Naturals and America's Most Wanted are very, very familiar with one another. Neither team can afford to make a mistake in this bout for all the gold.
The Cowboy James Storm starting off heavy on Chase Stevens. Stevens charges the buckle but puts the brakes on, and a big right hand to the face of the Tennessee Cowboy James Storm. Storm hits the canvas several times. Stevens on top of the Cowboy, leapfrog up and over, through the legs, fast and furious, duck of the elbow. Almost too fast to keep up with on the Naturals and AMW. Two teams that know each other so well, such familiarity between the two teams. Chase Stevens finally starts to get one up on AMW.
Just like you said, you can tell that this is not the first meeting between these two teams.
The Naturals captured the Tag Team Championships from AMW. At the time, it was considered one of the great upsets in NWA TNA history. The Naturals went on to prove themselves as rightful champions, including facing AMW inside the 6 sides of steel. And now in Norfolk, it looks like a meeting of the minds between AMW.
But Brian Hebner's going to have his hands full in this one with the animosity between these 4 men.
Double slide, and the Cowboy and the Wildcat become very friendly.
Hopefully that is the first time America's Most Wanted has been in that position.
Team 3D tend to like to put AMW in compromising positions as well, as our regular viewers will attest to.
You know, the one thing I love about both these teams, whether you like America's Most Wanted, whether you don't, the same can be said for the Naturals. These are not makeshift wrestlers that are trying to be a tag team that's not really there. How many times over the past several years have we seen two individuals just slap together and win tag team gold? But they were never really the true essence of what a tag team has always been in this sport. The Naturals and America's Most Wanted define what a tag team should be in professional wrestling, define what a championship tag team should be.
Andy Douglas now in the ring with the Wildcat Chris Harris. Chris Harris, as we pointed out on past UWF releases, at one point was the #1 contender to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Versatile, volatile is Chris Harris. He tends to be the calmer, the more level-headed of the 2 members of America's Most Wanted. The Cowboy has got a temper, and he just low-bridged Andy Douglas.
And of course, the referee being distracted by Stevens on the inside inadvertently, and allowing America's Most Wanted to try and do some double team action, but it does not pay off.
Andy Douglas up and over, sunset flip. Hebner down, only a count of 2. Thumb to the eye.
Blatant eye poke, and referee Brian Hebner all over it.
You gotta wonder the history in not only this town for wrestling, but the history in this crowd. How many of these people have seen the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, the Andersons, Mulligan and Flair, Flair and Valentine, Steamboat and Jones.
The list goes on and on.
Great tag teams of the Mid-Atlantic have all come through. Some of the great tag teams of the world, have all come through the Mid-Atlantic and come through Virginia. And now we have quite possibly, in my opinion, I'll go out and put it out there, the 2 best tag teams of the 21st century right now in the ring competing for the NWA World Tag Team Championship. Andy Douglas has the Wildcat Chris Harris in the corner, shoots him off. Storm, dug in the line, big right hand.
Of course, Douglas is the X factor in this match. He's the fastest, he's the quickest of them, the most aerialistic. And once again, America's Most Wanted, somewhere where they hopefully do not want to be.
James Storm is very irate on the outside.
The NWA World Tag Team Champions not looking very much like it here in the early going.
The champs frustrated.
Just like you alluded to earlier, it really does look like the Naturals have the number of America's Most Wanted. And if they can keep riding this wave of momentum, we could very well have new champions here tonight.
The Naturals have got more victories over AMW than any other tag team in TNA history, including a World Tag Team title victory. Harris gets in the face of Brian Hebner. James Storm gets in the face of Brian Hebner.
Boy, America's Most Wanted is getting humiliated from everyone.
The Cowboy locks up with Brian Hebner. Shoulder tackle. He's very proud of himself for proving his dominance over a referee.
Obviously, the referee is being a bit lenient on the disqualifications.
Double whip up, double clothesline. Double hip toss. Brian Hebner's the house of fire. We just signed him up for the X Division, Grant Sawyer.
Brian Hebner helping out the Pink and Black attack as the Naturals reign supreme here in the early going.
AMW getting nowhere with Brian Hebner or the Naturals or this crowd. It does not seem to be the night for AMW, and you've got to believe at this stage in the contest, the tag team belts are in tremendous jeopardy.
Well, Harris and Storm are almost showing frustration towards one another there on the outside.
Chase Stevens got a handful of the Cowboys' hair. Got Storm in a front face lock, gonna bring him in the hard way with a big suplex. Cover. Only a count of 2. Big right hand.
Storm staying right on top of it though. Oh! Low blow that Brian Hebner never saw.
There is the teamwork of the World Tag Team Champions.
Everyone in the arena night saw it except for Brian Hebner.
Double team from AMW in the corner. 2, 3, 4 boots at a time connecting with the chest and the sternum.
Boy, it was driving Douglas absolutely nuts to have to stand there and watch that.
Douglas got to maintain his composure. The Wildcat kicks low, look like in the gut, maybe above the belt line. You never really know with AMW.
Well, I will say, America's Most Wanted showed a lot of perseverance there by being able to survive that onslaught from the Naturals in the early going. But the one drawback, possibly, the Naturals may...
A little bit of a Midnight Express from America's Most Wanted.
How many times have we seen that maneuver in this area?
I've seen it thousands just myself. Cover. Andy Douglas right there to break it up.
Just in case his partner wasn't going to kick out, Douglas was going to make sure this bout was not going to reach its conclusion as of yet.
Of course, the Naturals have the unfortunate distinction of being the last people ever to be aligned with No Gimmicks Needed. Chris Candido had taken Candido on as their mentor just before the time of Candido's passing. It was one of Candido's final appearances on TNA. One of his final appearances in wrestling at all was the night that the Naturals won the belts from AMW. And you've got to believe that those hardships, those lessons learned from veterans like Chris Candido, like Tracy Smothers, who had a tremendous hand in the training of Chase Stevens, bringing him into the sport. Those lessons learned from those veterans are going to come in handy now that AMW has turned the tide.
Well, you couldn't get a better pair of veterans to try and guide you into the next century, the new millennium, than Candido and Smothers.
Hebner right there to look for the choke.
Obviously, Hebner has declared it to be clean.
Andy Douglas getting this crowd behind the Naturals. Will the Naturals regain the NWA World Tag Team Championship here in Norfolk?
Trying to hammer his way out of it, though. Ducks underneath one clothesline, off the ropes, ducks underneath another one, and knee right to the abdomen.
The Cowboy now mocking the Naturals. And a shot for the home viewers.
Knocked the wind right out of the sails and out of the sails of every fan here in the arena, driving that knee in, and once again looking to administer some double team action as Douglas continues to argue with the official.
Douglas has got to keep his cool. He's got to keep his eye on the ball in this one. The Wildcat, Chris Harris, now with Chase Stevens. Sends him hard into the top turnbuckle. Great positioning on Brian Hebner right there to check for the closed fist. Hebner encouraging AMW to get the man out of the corner. Andy Douglas reaching for that tag, his eyes clearly focused, trying to make eye contact with his partner, trying to see if the stars are there, if he's got his wits about him or not. And right now, it's all AMW, it's all in the control of the champions.
We talked about the old school tag team wrestling bouts. America's Most Wanted is showing it right now because they have systematically cut the ring in half every single time they take Stevens down. It is no further than at the center point of the ring. They're not allowing him to be anywhere near Douglas in case the opportunity arises for a tag.
That is the great tried and true tag team wrestling strategy. You draw that line across the ring and you keep the man in your half of the ring. He can't make a tag. It's a farther distance that his partner has to come to make a save. It's just great strategy all around.
Brian Hebner's checking the arm, and that is twice. It's dropped. We're going to need...
Get up, Chase, come on!
3, but the man is alive. Stevens saves himself at the last second.
He barely kept that arm elevated on the third occasion, and now trying to use the support from these fans to power himself up and out of this hold.
Belly to back suplex from Chase Stevens. Stevens needs to make that tag to Douglas.
Definitely a big offensive maneuver for Stevens, but he is so winded from the attack of America's Most Wanted that he's unable to make the tag, but this is as close as he's been in minutes.
Inches away.
Enziguri!
I think he may have just knocked the Wildcat out. Harris just got his clock cleaned. Chase Stevens is disoriented. He's in the wrong corner.
He's going to the wrong corner. Douglas is behind you. Makes the tag to Douglas.
Douglas is tagged in. Douglas and Storm. Douglas and Storm are legal.
Yeah, but it's going to be a one-man show for Douglas against both of the NWA World Tag Team Champions.
Douglas, shoot off into the corner. Big back body drop, high elevation.
So far, Douglas has it rocking, though. Even 2-on-1, he's keeping it going. He's keeping the dream alive to become the NWA World Tag Team Champions one more time.
Ducking the line from the Wildcat. Big high knee. Precision from Andy Douglas. Douglas looks like he's gonna fly. Going to the top rope, perhaps. Taking a little bit of time, and here comes the Cowboy.
Sweeps the legs out from underneath him. Douglas precariously straddles that top rope.
The Cowboy looks like he's going for a superplex. James Storm up to the 3rd floor. No, Chase Stevens is right there.
Stevens is there, and my God, what are the Naturals were going for it, but no, they're not.
Tower of Doom! Everyone collides with the canvas.
Fans on their feet, and the first man that can make a cover out of that car wreck is going to win this one.
We have one of our first fecal chants in UWF history. Everyone is down. Everyone is down. It looks like AMW moving a little bit. A cover. 2 on 2 count.
Just enough time for Douglas to recover and make a kick out as the tag team titles hang in the balance as all 4 men trying to gain their win out on their feet on the canvas.
Looks like AMW may be calling for a double clothesline. No. Are we gonna see a heart attack? It looks that way, the Cowboy.
But no, Stevens with the leg
I don't
lariat.
think he realizes that Stevens is on his feet. There's a dodge sunset.
We got it in chance right here. No!
Oh, so close. This crowd came alive on that one.
Douglas could taste it. Douglas thought he had won the tag titles one more time, but over in the corner.
Ryan Hebner, what? Harris was going for powder. Harris was going for powder, but Chase Stevens kicked it into his own man's face. Catatonic.
Miscommunication.
Chris Harris just hits catatonic on his own partner.
The Naturals have America's Most Wanted right where they want him. Fireman's carry now.
Sits out. Neck breaker. Naturals have got to capitalize cover. 1, 2.
No!
Only 2.
Somehow America's Most Wanted survives one more time.
Chase Stevens and James Storm on the outside. Stevens has got the belt. Stevens has got the belt.
Brian Hebner on the outside of the ring with Stevens.
James Storm had the other tag belt and just nailed Andy Douglas in the back of the head with it.
Brian Hebner didn't see a thing.
And that is 3 A&W using the oldest trick in the book to retain the NWA World Tag Team Championship.